call to order. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'm new into serving in this temporary role for now, as Howard has moved on to a new position. But as the vice chair of the board right now, I just want to move on to the approval of minutes from November 6th and December 11th. If I can get a motion for that and a second.
I motion.
Second.
Thank you. We do have an agenda tonight. We're going to change it somewhat because we do have a group of people here tonight that have an interest we want to address. And we'll put reports to after that. But first, under new business, we have a reorganization where we have to define the new chair and vice chair. We had a meeting just before this where we had a vote, and I don't know if that would be appropriate. Do you, Andy, want to go through the voting process?
Yes, we voted and unanimously asked that that Clark serve as the chair, Ms. Bell serve as vice chair. I guess, so congratulations to them. Look forward to working under your guys' leadership tonight and through the rest of this year.
Thank you. With that, if we have a motion to move forward with that decision.
I move.
And
All in favor?
Duly noted. Vice Chair. All right. With that said, we can go on to new business. I know a lot of you have a topic tonight that you want to review. We do have a group tonight from the Delco Revolution mountain biking team. They had a presentation and proposal they wanted to bring forth. I realize there's a lot of community interest and conversation about that afterwards. I would just ask for our group to be able to give the presentation and give them the time allotted. And afterwards, we'll have an opening for public comment. We would ask those who have public comment to limit their conversation and time with us about 5 minutes at the podium. As we have presenters come up, we ask for your name and where you live. Just let us know where our neighbors are. And then after the public comments are done, we will have comments on the board, and then we'll move on hopefully to our next grouping, which would be old business. So with that said, I'd like to just welcome the group tonight, Delco Revolution mountain biking team, and I believe we have a spokesperson coming forth now. If you give us your name.
Yes. Hi there. I'm Bess Yates, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the Delco Revolution mountain biking team. And I'm also speaking as a parent of a mountain bike team member, a 6th grader. So, but I also wanted to share my many hats that I wear as a parent, but then I also just want to share that I've been so struck by what a wonderful sport mountain biking is, and that we were very fortunate to discover the Delco Revolution mountain biking team in this past year through Susie Bruns, who is a neighbor down this, just within the neighborhood. I'm at 309 West Wayne Avenue, so live close to Odoricio Park. I also wear other hats. Before joining Temple University's landscape architecture faculty in 2008, I was a community-based planner working on reuse of Superfund sites across the Southeast and Northeast and Midwest. I've been a certified arborist and currently sit on Radnor's Environmental Advisory Council. So just so you can get a sense from my background. So really what we would like for us to do tonight, we have really one main priority. Is really just to get mountain biking back on our radars in Radnor Township and making mountain biking a priority in Radnor. And there are a lot of reasons why, and we're going to talk about that. So really, we're building on and resuming discussions that began in 2019, 2020, and just picking back up, and then also hoping we can move them forward. So we're going to talk about the growth of mountain biking in the USA and Pennsylvania, why mountain biking, mountain biking builds community. We're also going to talk about Delco Revolution Mountain Biking's team growth in the last 7 years since y'all heard from us. We're going to begin to identify, and really it's just the beginning of identifying and discussing opportunities and constraints for mountain biking, trails, and skills parks development in Radnor Township. So let's see. So just first off, I just would like to share the growth of mountain biking in the United States and Pennsylvania. And this is a bit of my rudimentary understanding. I'm not an expert in mountain biking. I am not a mountain biker myself. Hopefully I'm going to grow into one within the next year or two. But I'm certainly a hiker and I love getting outside. So that is certainly, there are a lot of benefits, which we'll talk about. But you can see that ridership has grown tremendously over the last 10 years. Pickle, Pennsylvania's interscholastic team has really taken off in 10 years. They're up to 811 coaches, 78 pickle teams across the state. We have at least 4 or 5 in the southeast region, and I'm sure that y'all can speak better to that, but certainly there are many, many more athletes, and it's a growing sport. We also have a nationally ranked mountain biker that has come from Radnor, who is currently a freshman in college down in Georgia, and we get to hear from him. So why is mountain biking a growing sport, and why mountain bike? There's so many benefits. There's mental health benefits. Of course, there's reducing stress, lowering instances of depression and anxiety, building confidence, sense of accomplishment. There's all sorts of physical health benefits to mountain biking. It is a full body cardiovascular exercise, easier on the joints than running, lowers blood pressure and cortisol, the stress hormone, reduces bad cholesterol, increases good cholesterol, builds muscle, helps regulate metabolism. There are tons of social benefits also. Building community. It has served, as I can attest to, as an alternative to to team sports like soccer or lacrosse, Little League. All ages can participate. So certainly the Delco Revolution is for 6th through 12th graders, but it's something that elementary age kids can look forward to. There's definitely the benefit of experiencing nature, the fresh air. It is known for improving mood and sleep, providing a sense of awe. So there is also an added benefit of growing in environmental ethic and stewardship, and very importantly, building comfort in the outdoors. So there are lots of myths we would like to dispel about mountain biking. There are 3 primary myths that mountain biking is a loud sport. So the mountain bikers are generally very focused and quiet. That's the reality. So mountain biking negatively impacts woodland ecosystems. That's number 2. Mountain biking is strikingly similar to hiking and to birding. So responsible mountain bikers help minimize erosion and environmental impacts. So number 3, mountain bikers and hikers, walkers cannot share trails. There's actually a whole shared use technique that can be used and these trails are quite common. Sharing trails is really a fundamental principle in the mountain biking community. So that leads me to thinking, for us talking about building community through Parks and Rec programming and teams. The other side of the coin here is also environmental stewardship. It's not just about riding bicycles and going up and down hills. It's also about environmental stewardship. So, and improving and sustaining public, natural, open spaces. So I do want to pause here before we go forward and talking about the teams, in just a second, actually, I will get to them. It's just showing you just the trail work leaderboard that Pickle has on its website to show who has been involved and how many hours. Pickle is as I said, the cycling league that's across Pennsylvania that the Delco Revolution is a part of. So you can see that whether it's the removal of trash, the maintenance of trails, and and area parks. But this is certainly, the Delco Revolution is based down in Smedley at this point, but we also ride in other areas and are also taking care of other parks other than Smedley. But so there's this Teen Trail Corps. I also, for the benefit of those Delco Revolution team members here in this audience, I want to make sure that they're aware that there are Teen Trail Corps captain projects that are similar, if anything, to an Eagle Scout project that they can take part in. And Pearson Bruns was actually able to complete a project of developing a bike pump in Smedley as part of his park, So I wanted to introduce you all to many of the things that are taking place and many facets of the Delco Revolution team, and then just with the hopes of getting more Radnor residents involved in the team, also just so that y'all can see what a benefit it is to the community. We're going to come back to Pearson. But the Delco mountain biking team Revolution's growth in the last 7 years has been exponential. You can see from 2019, there were 9 members, growing up to 60, 60 plus members. And so you can see that it is a wonderful camaraderie with team spirit, that there are no selections, no sidelines. Everyone rides and trains together in an inclusive, challenge by choice, supportive team environment. So it's extremely positive for many more ways than one. So I wanted to give an opportunity to let the team members here tonight, to give them a voice, to give them a chance to share with you all why they like mountain biking, what it is how it's changed their lives, what they like about it. If y'all feel there's time.
Some brief comments,
Brief
yes,
comments?
would be appropriate.
Okay, great. If any, Colin or Eli, y'all can come up as a group.
Hi, my name's Eli. I am this wonderful woman's child. She wrote down just one question: why should we mountain bike? And I wrote down, it is a great distraction from the outside world. I have a lot of things going on at school, and mountain biking sort of feels like just like another world that I can just focus on. And what I mean by that is, while going over jumps and other things, I don't have to feel stressed out about a project due. And I also love mountain biking because of how it compensates for the hard things in life. And it sort of feels like the cement in a nice crack, not nice, but just like a brick wall. It's the cement that holds my life together. That's a little dramatic, but yeah. Thank you.
My name is Colin, and I just love to mountain bike. It just makes me happy all the time, and it just clears my head. And I just love being out in nature and just riding fast.
I'm Alexander, and first of all, I really like to mountain bike because I think it's very fun and it's good exercise, and it pushes me to get better at mountain biking and also as a person, and also allows me to have a time to hang out with friends and to spend time in nature and appreciate nature.
Hello, my name is Nico, and one of the main reasons why I like mountain biking is because it's fun. But it's also because you get to meet new people. You can be in an environment, everyone is kind, everyone's thoughtful. If you mess up on a trail, everyone's like, it's all right, you got it, you can try again, you got this. And it's just fun, you can relax, you're in nature.
Hi, my name is Doug. I like mountain biking because it's a time to hang out and socialize with my friends.
is at the conclusion of your presentation?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
No. Thank you. So I also want to point out we have a NICA award winner from Radnor, a Community Impact Award, Pearson Bruns, who I mentioned before as being nationally ranked at this point, and is down in Georgia at Piedmont College racing. So you can see that it really does impact and can change lives, mountain biking. So I think I also want to just point out that there are practices as well as races. You can participate in however much you would like. So go to practices and not go to the races, for example. So the season is officially from July to November. As I said before, it's quiet and focused. Building skills and endurance are the focuses of the practices 2 times a week. And then on the weekends, you can see there are off-season rides as well as trail maintenance weekends. So, all right. One of the things I think that the Delco Revolution team and maybe others do wonderfully well are the try-it rides, as well as girls riding together, the grit rides. So there are lots of ways of getting involved, either initially and once you sort of take part in team events and kind of join this team, that there are ways of riding and continuing to build your skills. So thinking about opportunities for mountain biking trails and park stewardship in Radnor parks, we would just like for this to be the beginning of a conversation to discuss these parks and how Delco Revolution, whether it's along with the Radnor Conservancy or friends groups, but partnering with the Parks and Rec Department to plan for the sustainable use and maintenance of these shared public and natural open spaces. So there are 3 parks that we can think of that have existing trail networks: the Ithan Valley Park, Skunk Hollow, and Sawmill Park, as well as Brook Farm Trail. These are some are a little bit more in order than others. But the Radnor parks where shared use trails could be developed, we see as potentially for the Odoricio Woods, as well as Harford Park. Now, we understand that there are various issues, constraints, but it'd be wonderful to keep talking about them. Just, for example, in part because average drive times to local parks with trails, riding trails, are 20 to 50 minutes away. And over in the Key, you can see the parks kind of get further and further away. There's Ithan Valley Park all the way to the Belmont Plateau in West Philly, as well as Smedley Park down near Media, which is where we're located in Swarthmore. So, no, okay.
Is Smedley like your home park?
Smedley has been a wonderful home park. So, yes, I'm seeing nods. Thank you. So, not to distract from the discussion of trails, I just also wanted to put on y'all's radar that there are additional ways to develop skills in mountain biking that include skills parks as well as pump tracks. And so you can see sort of a smattering of images with skills type sort of jumps and lines and just ways of building those types of mountain biking skills that are helpful when you go out onto trails. Pump tracks are an additional way to grow the sport. So these are slightly different than actually cycling, which maybe you were more familiar with. There's a lot of more up and down movement to get you up and over these little hillocks and berms and various kinds of other hills that have names. So you can tell I'm not as versed in pump tracks. But I do want to point out that Alexander did a wonderful job of proposing this project at Harford Park. He came up with this idea of a skills park at Harford Park. It's fenced in. And I don't know if you want to talk to it, Alexander? Yeah, okay, please, that would be great.
I mean, so I came up with this idea of creating a possible skills park or pump track at the lower portion of Hartford Park. This area has like very, very suitable topography to create like a fun pump track, and it does not require cutting down any trees. And there is a fair amount of parking opportunities located nearby as well, and there is less impact on surrounding neighbors than many other places in Radnor could possibly have. And there is a connection from the top of Hartford Park to Radnor Elementary School, and from there you can connect to a variety of places like Radnor High School and Wayne. And this over here is the proposed area we made. And one con it could have is potential interactions with off-leash dogs, since this is a dog park, but overall this would be a very excellent place to create a skills park, and it would really bring a lot of benefits to the community.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Alexander. All right. So 2 additional possible locations for a skills park or pump track could be over at Skunk Hollow, adjacent to the Sawmill Road, the fields there, or the fields, or the large field north of Darby Creek, kind of northeast of Darby Creek, south of Willow Road. So just would definitely need further study, for sure. But you can see the space is certainly potentially sufficient. So just to conclude, tonight's presentation, we're really looking forward to more discussions with you all. Just that mountain biking, we do think that this is a wonderful sport, providing many types of benefits for ages, all ages, for those who take part in this. And there's a fantastic opportunity here in Radnor to really begin growing and developing this sport that would definitely have a long-term impact. So thank you all for your time. So.
Bess, before you step back, I want to open up the board if they had any specific questions for you before we move on to public comment.
Yes, I have a few questions because I'm totally not familiar with this. But are you asking or requesting that more than one, in other words, I gather Odorosio is an area that you're thinking of would be a great mountain biking area.
Well,
or what are you actually requesting? Because I see pumps,
right,
and
I know that,
and skills,
right,
and other areas, and I'm confused.
Okay, that's fair.
I apologize.
Not at all. No, I guess we have come forward before in the past talking about Odorosio as a possible park for mountain bike trails. As a landscape professional, I do think more study of the park is important before going in and building any kind of trail. But I am definitely very much proposing that trails be a possibility at Odorosio. I think that opening up those woods, clearing them, and restoring them is really a top priority. And then adding trails in those woods would be a wonderful benefit to the community.
Okay, yeah.
And they could be shared use.
Okay,
Yes.
I just was a little confused on that. I thought the kids made a great presentation. I think you made a great presentation. And it really sounds like something worthwhile. I just don't know the extent of what you were asking or requesting. So
Right.
Your request really is more of considering Odorosio, but also these other
Yes.
skill parks and other things?
Yes, and trails throughout Radnor. So
Okay.
yes, making mountain biking really much more of a priority.
I got you.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
that's great.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one follow-up question to that. I thought you guys also did a wonderful job. Your presentation was really clear, and the kids did a fantastic job speaking up. How long would a mountain bike trail need to be relevant, and what would the terrain be like?
Right. So I may defer to some of the coaches in the audience. Certainly more than a mile and up to 6 to 13 miles. Certainly I know that that's as far as they go pretty far. So we're fortunate to have some parks that actually have that amount of space. But for practice and skill development in an afternoon after school, it would be wonderful to have a neighborhood park where they can go and do some practicing on their own. So would any of you all like to, could you speak to that? Speak to the mileage? And I would appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm Sebastian Bradley, live just around the corner on Conestoga Road. So I'm one of the head coaches of the Delco Revolution team. We, depending on the kids' levels, the practices will range from covering 5 miles to 15 miles in the course of a practice. Some of that can be repeated trail use. So loop, doing loops of the same circuit. But of course, we're conscious of the fact that the parks in Radnor, for the most part, are relatively small, with the possible exception of Skunk Hollow. But to Bess's point, I think the idea is to have an area where the community can go, not necessarily for structured, intensive practices, but to have access to trails and introduce kids who don't have the ability to train hard for 2 hours to learn what it's like.
And just one follow-up question. What would the terrain be like? Is it rocky or hilly?
Oh, that's a good question. And I have a slide related to that. Let's go down. So there are like single track, double track trails. They can be smooth and what are called flowy, less rocky, fewer routes. And then they go on up to more technical trails that have these routes, have rocks. Those parks or places that have like devoted mountain bike trails often use a rating system that's similar to ski slopes that have like, green circles or blue, blue squares, black diamonds. So, if you're doing a black, that's pretty cool. Does that make sense? So up and like the more, and you can actually certainly build endurance going uphill, and then practicing going downhill. So that's one benefit of Odoriso, that there is some interesting topography there also. So.
Any other questions? I have a quick question for
Sure.
you. Who would be ultimately responsible for the funding of this, and what entity would be supervising a pump track, for example, or whatnot? These don't come without expense or maintenance. Just going to the pump track, which is in Philadelphia, they have a very strong organization that maintains that, and it takes a lot to do that.
It does.
So again, funding, and who would be the responsible entity for something like this?
That would need to be a big consideration. I know that Township recently was awarded a grant, according to the state representative, and so that we would need to investigate funding sources for sure. Thank you.
Our best, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And with that, we'll go into community comment. So again, as you approach the microphone, just say your name and your address, and just if you have your time, use it wisely here for us. Thank you. We'll take the first speaker.
Hello, my name is Terry Lindsay. Somebody can tell me about when we were here last. Is Odoriso part of this bike trail thing?
If I could answer, I think the group had asked for a presentation. They had included many parks, but we've had a process together about Odoricio that's been going on for some time. We'll probably have some comment about it later, but as of now, we have had our talks for Odoricio for some time, and that's the plan as of right now. So, meaning the pre-existing Odoricio plan we've talked about many times before.
Well, we've talked about that a couple years ago, and I'm here to support or be the mouthpiece for the people that live the closest to Odoricio Park. We said no then, so I guess no don't mean no, right? We don't want the park touched in that manner. We'd like to make our own footpath trails through there. And we don't be doing no bike riding through there or any other thing, because I could have had my kids do a lot of bike riding through there. And I'm gonna make this short. We don't want that park touched in any way in the woods. We want something much better. We thought there was going to be an entertainment system, but in the last 50 years, we have not had an upswing in that park that's really lookable. And I frown on that. We frown on that. I'm talking about our neighborhood closest to that park. Every time we ask them to do something, there's no money for it. But yet, the other parks look a lot better. Now, that bathroom that we have in the park has been there over 50 years. Nothing been done with it. Let me back away from this. Folks, I thank you, and I do not wish for this park to be touched in any way.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Fleming. I live on Highland Avenue, which is right around the bend from Odoricio Park. Of all the parks in the area, it is the most run down, beat up, and literally dangerous. I have a 2-year-old grandson who I can't even take to that park. There's no enclosure, and there's a big hill right next to it. Enki Park is much better condition, further away. Some people in the community don't have cars. There are more children in that little area than most of the areas around here. So I don't understand how for years that park is now rusty. There's gaps from the bottom of where children can literally hurt themselves. There's no rubber matting. There's mulch. Supposedly no dog walking, but people walk their dog through there. So there's no safe place for these little children to play. And there's more little children in that area. So why is that not being taken care of? I just would like an explanation as to why that is not approved in an area where I know my taxes have gone up. So what am I paying for if I cannot take a little 2-year-old to the park because it's unsafe to be there? Now, I'm disabled. If he goes for a run over that hill, let me tell you, I will be the first one to sue this town. And anybody who has a child that gets hurt there, they have every right to sue this town. That's what I have to say.
My name is Kevin Moyens. My mother helped write the home charter back in 1976, Reverend Jean B. Williams. So I have a little tie. She passed away 5 years ago. But looking through her papers, I got a pretty good idea of what was going on back then, even though I was barely 20. My concern is a number of things. One, Odoricio Park is only 25 acres, and that's according to your numbers, not mine. You can look it up on Wikipedia if anybody chooses to challenge it. The history of the park, we all know Odoricio. He did it for the youth in baseball. But let's remember that the Scott family had it first. Troop Tape 284 had the cabin there. The township had the opportunity and the school district to own it. The school district gave it up and let the township take it. 2009, we had a wonderful time seeing Ralph J. DeMeo being honored for his work, as you know, Conestoga Nursery, if you're from this area. My concern again is when I look at parks around the area, oh, I don't know, Rose Tree Park looks a little bit bigger than ours. Now, I know it's not just Ordericio that's been presented up here. However, the concern is, I'm saying, why even put it in there when you have Ridley State Park? You have a place over in Phoenixville, okay? A short trail is 1 to 4 miles. Even though we're hearing trail and sometimes trails, Phoenixville has 3 trails, beginner, middle, and expert. I don't hear that mentioned here. And I'm sure, like in skiing, they're not one trail with 3 lanes. So the other concern that I have is how far do people think, or how big do they think it is, Ordericio Park? It's certainly not Uncapher, which is the smallest one at 1.9 acres. And I realize, Ordericio, it is tempting. American Legion ball is played there. I understand that as well. But I think the concern is it comes down to, in a neighborhood, as this lady said, that when you see Cowan Park, their basketball court was repaired and fixed before any painting was done or repairs to Ordericio. Now, I understand the Cowan family is an integral part of this community, and I hope I'm not running over my 5 minutes. But, and it was the site of the natatorium now 120 years ago. Yes, I love history, and I love mainline history. But my concern is again, I look at this as, how can we even consider Ordericio Park? Oh, I'm sorry, but when I was in Radnor Elementary School back in the 60s, we camped out at French Creek. I didn't see anybody say, hey, let's make Ordericio Park a place where you can park and camp. And Ordericio has only been around since '67, the park itself. The man was a 5-term state representative and did a really good job of representing the community. Now, I can't expect these kids to, hey, wow, because I did the same thing to my dad. Dad, the depression, that was your problem, not mine. And I understand they want a chance, but sometimes we don't get all that we want. My father has taught me life is not what you want, but what you're willing to settle and sacrifice for. So when I look at this park, I'm not saying they can't have it. No. The young man did a good job about Harford Park. And there's other places in the township, I'm sure, that could have been considered. I'd want to say Clem McCrone, but I think the back end of that park, it wouldn't hurt, especially when you have a large population like you do in now Bryn Mawr, but then it was Garrett Hill when I grew up, and eventually became Rosemont. But, you know, sometimes change, while it may be a wonderful thing, let's ask the American Indian. I don't think he'll agree. And so I've got to wonder here, what's the benefit? Okay, I understand. How many members in that club? When I looked tonight before I left, even though I have Facebook and Instagram pages, I didn't see anything larger than 138. The smallest I saw was 64. And when the young lady puts up a graphic that says 2019, and I'm saying 7 years, 9 members, how much money are we willing to spend for something like that? I don't want to call it a dinosaur, but I am concerned. Okay, is this going to be flavor of the month for a year or two and then it's gone? How many, other than, I think he's Terry Hawks, a skateboarder, how many of us know generations of? In football, we can say that. Baseball, you can say the Boone family, 3 generations. Okay, you want to say skateboarding is a young, thriving sport? Great. But I don't see swimming pools built around here. And we had Janie Barkman and a number of All-Americans that went to Radnor in the time when I was here. And I graduated in '75. So my concern is again, I don't expect to stand up here like an old man and say, I went to good old days. What I'm concerned is if we're making progress, who are we really thinking about? Yes, I love the main line, grew up on it, blah, blah, blah. Lived in a lot of places in my lifetime. There's no place like it. But one of the things that really gets my goat is this. How many people moved here because they wanted to get away and be a part of the main line And what do? Well, let's get rid of the mascot. Yeah.
Understand.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Just in respect to everyone's time tonight.
I
just if you
understand.
could
I
wrap
will
up.
understand. But I'll sum it up with this way. Let's think about who are we really thinking about? Those that are coming in here or those that live here?
Thank you. Next speaker. Anyone else before us tonight for public comment?
How you doing? Demetrius Lambers, 300 Midland. I grew up in Radnor also. Went through the schooling, went to Villanova, went to Temple grad. I think any trail we can have in Radnor, if we can expand the trail system, that'd be great. Maybe to the point where we can connect to the other trails, that'd be awesome. I don't think it's only a biking trail. I think it's a hiking trail. It's a walking trail. I personally would love to see the trail networks in general expand in Radnor, and I'd be all about it. So anything that we can do to help that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, is there any other public comment? All right, with that, we'll close public. Oh, we have one other gentleman coming up.
My son just joined Delco Revolution last year, and he's really loved the sport. I've also found out that this is a great community of people. They really, not only do they, do their practices and their games, but they take care of each other and they take care of the parks that they're at. I think they would be, making a big investment in maintaining and making sure that these trails are maintained well. I would certainly be helping. I already volunteer with Radnor. I've been living here for quite some time. So I would be happy to help out too. So just wanted to throw that out. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for that gentleman's comment. With that said, any other comments before we close? Right, public comments closed, and this is the time for the board to just make some comments and questions about what's been said. For my fellow board members, any other comments you may have?
So first I just want to thank you guys as a group for coming together, and I think it's really good when we give youth voice to express what they want to see for their community. I think that it's our responsibility as a board to consider what people's interests are, but also we have a responsibility to take into account the safety of the community. Being a neighbor of Odoricio, I have to stand tall and say, I don't think it's the right park for any sport that is going to be out of the visibility to keep the kids safe, to keep the neighbors safe, and so forth. I am encouraged that you all have done research and have identified other areas and other parks that might be appropriate. Now it feels like we can have a conversation. Before, it just felt like a yes or no, and that's not, I don't feel good about saying a solid no to kids who find voice for themselves. But I am encouraged, and I'm hoping that our board can take into consideration the interest of our residents and what they want for their community. You don't have to be, 200 strong. The fact that you all stand here and, in your unity means that we should pay some attention and figure out how we can all work together. It was encouraging to see that Tredifferin had found some money, which means that there may be money out there. And I'm hoping that these are open conversations as you present it, and that we're not just solidly focused on one area. I think that gives us an opportunity to figure out how we can do some work and how much and who's going to pay and that type of thing. But I just wanted to commend you guys as a group, and especially the youth, for just expressing yourself and, having voice to what you want for your community. I think that's good stuff.
I have a couple observations here, and I have to concur 100% with my colleague here that this is a great presentation you made. The kids were great. You brought up some interesting points, but also the neighbors, several of the neighbors I brought up something that has been on my mind for some bit of time. We have been talking about Odoriceo for a bit of time here about making a recommendation and to the commissioners. And by the way, I hope everyone knows that this board here is strictly a recommendation board. And we don't always get what we ask for, and we don't always shine the light on what people are interested in. But we have been trying very hard to figure out what to do with Odoriceo, and I think several of the neighbors have pointed out there is some deficiencies in the park itself with safety, all sorts of things that need to be addressed before we go into an expansion mode. And that's what I recommend to the colleagues here, is that we really should be pushing hard for what we have been striving for in the last, 4 or 5 meetings, of trying to see what we're going to do with Odoriceo. Something should be done, and the Board of Commissioners should be listening to us, and we hope they do. So my point is, I think it's a great presentation. I think we should consider it, but I also think we should consider the neighbor's point of view. There's a lot to be done before we get into this expansion modality. So
I would just sort of concur about the quality of the presentation and the sincerity of all of the public comment and presentation today, on all different voices on this. I think it's important to see what this is. This is in no way where the Park and Rec Board was recommending anything. This was the beginning of a conversation, as I understand it, and I think it was a good opening conversation with that. The one observation I would make about Hartford, and then also back behind the willows, is, which was mentioned by the young gentleman who did the Hartford Park review, is the dogs off leash. That touches on an issue that we've had to address over the last couple of years, and it's something that I imagine dog owners would rightfully be concerned about, and it would sort of bring in another population that has to have opinion on things. So it's just as part of the I'm seeing this as an opening conversation, nothing more in terms of this presentation to the board. As such, as you continue that conversation and continue to work on ideas, while the schematics of what's going over at Hartford may look good, and I was very impressed with what was done there in terms of the presentation. Again, to think about the various populations that have to be considered by this board. Dogs off leash is one, and those are that's one area of dogs off leash where we had some very passionate residents come forward and express their opinion just about hours that they could have dogs off leash. Now having potential people with bikes during other hours, that brings into a level of things I'm sure would increase the attendance at our next monthly meeting, let's just put it that way. So, but I encourage continued conversation, continued community input on this issue, but also on the comprehensive plan that we've been working on for Odoriceo, and we hope to have in place and make some of the improvements that the park sorely deserves, sorely needs, and were identified here earlier. But again, I thank everybody for coming out tonight and sort of expressing your rights as residents here.
Can you please come up to the mic, just so the people at home can hear you?
Do you have some sort of budget in place to propose, or do you need funding, or
For
what is holding
Odoriceo
up
specifically?
The
For
comprehensive plan
yeah.
that we're looking at?
We're actually going to have an update on that later in this
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you.
There's been several community meetings to sort of get, I know that, I'm just saying that there's been several meetings to get input to try to say, like, what kind of things to get into that, into the comprehensive plan that's going to be presented today. This is by no means a final, or I don't know if there is a comprehensive plan, a schematic that's being presented, but there's been efforts to get ideas and input from the community through multiple meetings. With that, I'll turn my mic off.
I just wanted to add one thing. My husband is a mountain biker, so he was excited to hear that this conversation was even taking place. I think in our township we have a lot of opportunities in a lot of areas for team sports, but not all kids are team sport kids. I have 2 kids that are not team sport kids that would really benefit from a program like this. So I think it's important to think about everybody, not just the athletes that are comfortable participating in maybe more mainstream things. I think this would bring a lot of kids together across the schools. And you know, we have the skate park, which I think does something similar, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. My family's there a lot, so I thought this was really interesting, and I thought you guys did a really great job.
If I can just give closing comment on this issue tonight before we move on.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I make some comments as well?
Oh, certainly.
Maybe before you do that.
Certainly.
So a couple things. First of all, for those of you who got up and spoke, if you were my son or daughter, I'd be really proud of you tonight. That's really amazing, coming out and participating in this meeting, so your parents should be really proud. Great presentation, thoughtfulness. Bess and I had a chance to meet this week and talk very candidly. We had a lot of open conversation, not only about just the detail of the presentation, but also some alternative sites that might be available as well for something like this that did not include Odorriceo. So a few things. First of all, the mission of mountain biking fits well within our purview of Parks and Recreation. I think there's no doubt about that. Talking about activities that cement us as individuals is really inspiring. That's brings chills for those of us who sit in the office for 12 hours a day and think about how we want to be better cemented in life. So mountain biking obviously is a sport. It brings so many great benefits, Bess, in which you illustrated, and I'm sure that there are many beyond that. And that well within fits in the mission of Parks and Recreation. Recognizing Radnor Township we're a small township. We're very well built out, even though we have lots of open space and sprawling areas and things like that. I feel confident that if we really continue to take a look at this, there might be an alternative that we can come up with that might work. I don't know if it's going to be a trail that can just be open riding that can be shared with walkers and hikers. I have personal opinions about that. I think that's difficult as a mountain biker myself. But things like skills parks and things like that, pump tracks, I think is definitely something that could be evaluated. I know one of the comments that was made tonight is that not everybody gets everything they want, but maybe there's an opportunity for something that could be generated out of this. In terms of I know there were a lot of references on the skate park. I've been here for 26 years, and I was here through a decade-long discussion about the skate park before it came to fruition. And we looked at 10 locations throughout the township. We were fortunate to have a small space here at the township. We made it work, and it's a huge success. We have tremendous programming that's very popular, and definitely something that's here to stay, and not just a here today, gone tomorrow type of a sport, which I feel mountain biking is as well, is a sport that's here to stay. Now, whether or not that can work in Radnor and what that looks like, I would be willing to take a little bit of extra time to work with the group and look at some alternative locations. I know some of the locations that were brought up, like Skunk Hollow and Sawmill, very well attended by, our dog walkers and our hiking population, our small spaces. Hartford may have its challenges as well. We have Mainline School Night that operates out of there. I know they have some planned expansions over the next couple years in their comprehensive plan. But we have a lot of spaces that you don't see because they're not designated parks. We own land. I'm just giving some examples. We own land off of Briarwood and Malin, significant portion of acreage. We have land at 800 Goshen Road that was recently acquired. So I know there's the Chew and the Young tract that are sort of sandwiched in between SEPTA, the Route 100, and the Blue Route. But I think there's some alternatives to look at. I know Itham Valley presents an interesting dynamic because it's on the southern side of the township. It could potentially connect to the TAP Trail. The TAP Trail, we're trying to get to the Haverford Reserve. The Haverford Reserve permits mountain biking. Maybe there's some ability there in the southern portion of Itham Valley. So I think there are some worthwhile areas to look at. I certainly don't want to see the project, I don't want to see Odorriceo improvements take a back seat, because we've been talking about Odoriceo Park improvements, just to transition for a second there, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox for a second, but we've been talking about Odoriceo Park's improvements for, 3 years. Every month has been on our agenda. We're probably pushing 50 or 60 meetings. We've probably had nothing short of 5 or 8 actually at the Radnor Township Civic Association. We have an actual plan that this board put into conceptual design. We physically have it. We got a grant for all of the planning that's gone into it. So I just want to make sure we point that out. There's $100,000 in a grant that we obtained to do the planning for Odoriceo. Our commissioners have been invested into it. This board has been invested into the improvements there. Has nothing to do with the mountain biking or development of the wooded space. In fact, that's an area of that plan we put on the shelf so that we could improve the playground, improve the bathrooms, improve other areas of the park, like the parking lots, and making those more organized and capable of, increased capacity. So I think it's really important not to lose sight of that, which is underway. In fact, we're at a point right now where we're going to be looking at the final plan. We're going to be hopefully generating an order of magnitude cost on what that's going to look like. We have money in our park impact fund. I realize it's not going to fund the entire park, but those are dollars that this board recommended to the Board of Commissioners to say we want to allocate those towards Odoriceo. So for those of you who haven't been maybe keeping up with what all those discussions entail, I'd be happy to meet with you or talk with you. I know some of the people that are new here tonight on the Odoriceo topic. We want to get your email and your contact information so we can keep you involved so you know what's been going on, because a lot of work has been done and a lot of money has already been invested. And I do think that having Commissioner Childs now leaving this board and now serving on the commissioners and being very passionate about the Highland Avenue Odoriceo Park neighborhood really wants to see that be a project that gets done, and it is the next in our pipeline. And I don't want to lose sight of that, and I don't think this board is losing any sight of that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And just one more point about Odoriceo, because I do want to speak on behalf of the residents of Atlee who have reached out to me in concern of the development of the woods at Odoriceo as well. They are part of the outfall of erosion and stormwater that comes off the wooded site. So I know they have concern about any development that would happen within there. We have worked closely with them to ensure that appropriate stormwater measures would be taken into consideration, not just with the overall general improvements of Odoriceo long-term, but whatever would happen if something were to happen long-term of the wooded area, which they feel very adamantly against, as we know, as far as the neighbors that live all along there. So I know we want to protect their interests. So that's why I would just suggest, let's look at some alternative sites. Let's maybe just sit down and, look at it and see, what might work. It might not be a full-fledged trail network and system like you would see at Wissahickon or, Green Lane or any of those places, but maybe there's a something that could be evaluated in a direction that we could go in. And it's not going to happen overnight because there are other projects in the pipeline that are priorities, but I just would like to keep that conversation going and want to make sure that I recognize the importance of that and the importance of mountain biking as a sport and as something that brings a lot of benefits to the community. Thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. You reiterated what I was going to go over, and I'm going to make it brief, just in the interest of time. First, I just recognize the Odoriceo. We've met extensively about it, and I think the board's tenor is to remain laser focused on getting that park done. We recognize it's a park in need, and we've met extensively, and I've got an update about it tonight. There's money in place, and I think we're looking forward to getting the shovels in the ground and get that done. And the question about that area for mountain biking, I think right now the tenor of the board is to not look to that area for development and really focus on getting that park done. And that's what needs to be done. From my perspective with mountain biking, I mountain biked before they were called mountain bikes, so I'm a little old in that regard. But I do appreciate the mountain biking spirit, and I know that most mountain bikers are good environmental stewards, and if you get the right group, you can have a great place. But I'd recommend looking to tracks in this township that are underused right now, that aren't overused. And when we look to the Willows and Skunk Hollow and even Ithan, there's so much traffic volume in there. Our trails are under a state of erosion right now that we're really trying to address. And, you know, the single track, the combination trails work really well when you have a large park volume where you can really share. These parks are so small and the volume's so high, particularly at high usage, it's really hard to have the velocity that you guys are used to going with some of the pedestrians and particularly animals and whatnot. So I think Tammy's voice in this is important. Let's look to some tracks in the township that may be underused or not have overlapping issues that you can really grow into a premier location. But it comes with an investment and something that an organization behind it's going to have to really be behind it. And it's going to have to be them spearheading that next move. But that would be my close. Just I think it's a great idea, but you're just going to have to find the right space for it. Just some of the ones you mentioned, I don't think are going to be easily pulled off right now. So that being said, we'll close that and we'll go on to other business at this point. I do, in the spirit of new business, I don't want to put you on the spot, Tammy, but since we have folks here before we move on, I did want an update about the recent Valley Forge announcement this week about possibly involving Sulpizio. If you could move that up to the new business category and then we can go to old business.
Certainly. I do want to let you know that I've been advised by our council to keep it very, very brief. And as you probably just witnessed, I don't do a very good job at that. So for those of you who maybe haven't been paying attention, but I think most people are aware, Valley Forge Military Academy closed the military academy portion of the property just in December. So there's no longer a military academy. There's just the college that now continues to operate, I believe, with about 90 students there on the campus. There is a northwestern portion of the campus that recently was acquired by Eastern University. So there's been a lot of moving pieces going on with the site. The township has been having extensive conversations with Valley Forge, I would say probably for the last 6 to 9 months, in just discussing the future of the property. And essentially, what we were evaluating was a potential acquisition in some way to preserve open space. We just spent the last 2.5 years going through the comprehensive plan and developing the comprehensive plan, which is a document that I know this board is fluent on and understands, knows we kind of made some updates and stuff here. It also sits out on our township website, and consistent within the goals of that is the preservation of open space, which kind of ties into some of the things we've just been talking about. Precedents that has been set over the years, and with the sites like the Willows, Ardrossan. This is a consistent, theme and interest that the township has, in terms of making sure that lands are protected in some way. Concurrent to that, yes, there are some investments that need to be significantly made into Sulpizio Gym, which has had a failing roof, failing bricks and mortar, things of that nature. We've been able to put some Band-Aids and bubble gum on it for the last couple of years to kind of keep it hanging in there. It's a thriving facility for us for various recreational opportunities, and see this as a potential site where something like that could be relocated, recognizing the investment that we need to make into Sulpizio, which isn't a property that we own, it's owned by the school district. And we also, for anybody who caught the meeting Monday night, I know Commissioner Larkin discussed heavily the amount of development that's been happening in the area of Valley Forge recently. With Fox Hill, I think there's 10, 16 homes that were recently built in that area. Then there's Oak Hill, which is a senior living facility that is in the process of coming to fruition, which is actually an eastern portion of Valley Forge's campus that was recently sold and is probably under construction right now as we speak. Recognizing there's increases in traffic, demands on township services with emergency services and all that, knowing that there's an impact there, are all motivational pieces for us to really take a serious look at Valley Forge. So Monday night, essentially the board passed a motion to basically authorize our solicitor to begin to draft all of the legal pieces, corresponding engineering aspects to take a portion of that property that's remaining at Valley Forge by eminent domain. So our solicitor is currently working on that with anticipation that he's going to end up coming back with legislation, which would be an ordinance at the January 24th meeting. It would be up for introduction for, again, eminent domain. Obviously, there's a lot of subsequent pieces that would happen thereafter. And then that is an ordinance that would still have to be adopted at, I think, the February 8th meeting as well, which will still have not only one chance of being discussed, but twice. So that's pretty much where we are with that. And I think, there's certainly opportunity that we could see with precedent's been set on the remaining portions of Valley Forge to be purchased by a developer. And I think that's what we want to safeguard the township on and try and, in that side of the township now, start to really preserve some open space. And it could be, trails, park, wooded area, potential recreation center, et cetera.
Thank you. It's a big development, and obviously if you can give us any updates to the board so we can disseminate what we can, because I know people will be asking us. So with that in mind, and at least previous request to talk about Odoricio Park, if we could move the old business up rather than park reports, because I think we have a lot of Odoricio representation here. They may want to hear that in the beginning.
Sure. So if we go back to, I believe it was our July meeting, well, first of all, for several years we've been meeting with the residents, engaging, having lots of open conversation on Odoricio Park, trying to get a real sense of what the community is looking for, what the community wants. Spent several meetings discussing that, meetings here, meetings at the RTCA. Again, just not to reflect too much on what I had previously stated, but we've had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions, a lot of healthy discussion. And what that led us to was earlier this year, the development of a concept plan. So we actually have a plan on paper that we've been reviewing. I wasn't prepared with a presentation on it tonight, but I do have the copy of it if anybody wanted to take a closer look at it. And then we, in July, our last discussion with this board was to really approve a set of goals and objectives. So, we had some iterations of the plan that had been reworked over probably about 2 or 3 different versions, some that included a band shell and different configurations of parking, a pavilion restroom, just a restroom. So we've looked at a lot of different things, walking paths and, different ways to connect and create accessibility throughout the park, improved playground, sunshades on the playground, similar to what we have here at Enki, and overall, complete blank slate really of where we started in looking at an improvement plan to that park. And in July, the Parks and Recreation Board voted to say, this is what we recommend, this is what we want to see in terms of what those elements are. And then now the next step is in place to really start to bring those pieces to life and what they're going to cost. So I've been working with our consultants to try to get a little further along at that. We have some details we're trying to tweak with regards to the dugouts that would be updated for the baseball field. I know we're having conversations with Radnor Wayne Little League to, their investment into what that would be, looking to, share some of what ultimately that expense might be to bring that project to fruition, and trying to understand what the order of magnitude cost is going to be, come up with a final concept plan that what my goal is in February to bring that back to this board and have a really solid look at that. Not sure how far we'll get along in terms of order of magnitude costs, because those are going to take a little while, and then ultimately bring all of it before the Board of Commissioners to say, here's what we think it's going to cost, here's what the elements are, and then seek authorization at that time to bring the concept design into reality. And then that gives the commissioners an opportunity to figure out how it's going to be funded. And when I say figure out how it's going to be funded, there's a myriad of ways. We have grant opportunities. We have a great community there that will have an opportunity to generate grants, as we found with the planning and the design, which is covered in full. We know we have some money that is sitting in the Park Impact Fund. We know that there's opportunities potentially for borrowing. We've floated GOB bonds in 2016 and 2019, which were projects that got done, like the Odoriceo and Cowan basketball courts in 2019, which were part of that bond when those were simultaneously renovated. So that's an option. And then perhaps headed into next year, I know we have a capital budget that still we need to fund in general across many, many parks. So a portion of that could be for Odoriceo as well. So, and then looking to some of our partners to make some investments as well, like the Legion Baseball, Radnor Wayne Little League. I know we've had conversation about Radnor School District. I'm not sure how hopeful I'll be to get some money from them towards the park. I know our records still show that they own a portion of it, so we're still trying to sort through that piece as well. But that's where we are, and I think that is moving in a very solid direction. And hopefully very soon, we're going to get to the next steps. So unless there's any questions, hopefully that gives a good summary of where we are.
Is there any updates you can put on the website regarding the plans? I know we've seen the most recent ones, but is there anything we can put up?
I can work with our staff to do that.
Yeah. Would you want to go on to the other park project updates to just conclude old business?
You could do that or go to reports.
Whatever you prefer.
I will, let's jump to Fenimore then.
Fenimore.
Radically deviating from the agenda here tonight. This is impressive.
It just seems most efficient.
Give me a second, Ian, until I get this up.
We're almost there.
The Fenimore Woods Stable renovation has been underway, making solid progress. I don't want to jinx it, but it's been a very smooth, easygoing project so far. This was some of the demolition. I just want to kind of get us up to speed on where we are. So so masonry work has been underway over the last about a month and a half. Some of the masonry needs to wrap up, but due to the colder temperatures, they've been on a little bit of a hiatus, so they're continuing to move forward through some of the masonry work. Hold on a second, let me enlarge this so we can get here. So in December, some of the lintels that are comprising the areas of the windows were constructed. We started putting the framework up for the roofing systems. So for anybody that thinks that the tarp is still on, the tarp is gone. I know there was an article recently that was in the paper that noted how excited everyone will be for the tarps to come off. The tarps are off.
You may have to paint the roof blue.
What's that?
You may have to paint the roof blue.
No.
It's historic at this point.
Yeah, we have great shingles that are going to be eventually placed on the roof and the roofing structure. So significant amount of framing that has been done. These are just pictures over the last couple weeks to kind of give you a little bit of an update. There's sheathing in the interior wall structures as well as some of the roofing structure, which will be going on here shortly. I guess there is a portion of a roof still hanging there. There's also a significant amount of the rough-ins that are happening from the underground drainage. You can see the PVC here. That's in preparation going in, and obviously interior framework and everything that's being constructed. More pictures of the rough-ins for the drainage. We have interior electrical and plumbing work that is also getting underway. Some of these pictures obviously date back to mid-September. Mid-December. So you can see a significant amount of work has been done. We've been very fortunate to keep the work going over the break. And ultimately, this is, for those of you who haven't seen the rendition, based on the presentation that was given to the Board of Commissioners when we were authorized to bid the project, this is a rendition of what the stable will ultimately look like. And then just a brief update on the pavilion. The pavilion subbase and subgrades have all been set and allocated. There are significant framing and forms that are in the ground for the posts right now. Those are just waiting concrete to be poured, which probably is going to happen in a couple weeks for each of the 8 posts that will comprise the pavilion. The pavilion structure itself is lying under some tarps, laying in the parking lot. It was delivered back in November, so unfortunately we hit the freeze in December and had to put some of the project on hold due to that. We weren't able to pour concrete. Then we ran into the holidays, and here we are in January, and that will be getting underway shortly. So everything's on a really good pace. Pavilion should probably be done probably no later than March. The majority of the work for the stable, no later than March. Of course, that doesn't leave out the opportunity that there might be a significant amount of snow. Weather just obviously gets in the way of some of that. And I think by the time we get to June, July, we should be planning a pretty hefty grand opening celebration. At least that's the department's goal, in working through that process. I know that we still have the parking lots to get done yet, so some of that work will follow on the heels here in the late spring as soon as these 2 projects finish up. So we're really excited about it. It's been 10 plus years in the making. We know that nothing happens quickly, but when we see progress, it's really solid, as we have seen in a lot of park projects throughout the township. So unless you have any questions, this was the update on Fenimore. And just if I may keep on moving right along a little bit with regards to the township capital budget. Just to reiterate, the township's comprehensive 2026 budget was adopted on December 8th. We introduced the fee schedule just this Monday at the January 5th meeting, which will be adopted at the January 26th meeting. We had a reorganization at that meeting where Commissioner Riley, who is our board liaison here at the Parks and Recreation Board, he's moved on to the president's seat of the Board of Commissioners, so we definitely want to give a sound congratulations to him. And Commissioner Maggie Myers will be serving as the vice president alongside of him. And Commissioner Howard Childs is now our new representative to the Parks and Recreation Board, which is appropriate and fitting given his 8 years that he served, on the Parks and Recreation Board, and I think the 200 plus acres of parkland that actually exists in his ward, which is quite remarkable. I don't have any updates on trail projects. Those are still continuing to move, albeit slowly in the background. And then that just brings us to Park Steward program. If anybody has any additional comments on park locations, and then we can just move into reports.
Other than we'll have to have, once we have a new board member, a reorganization of the stewards to make up for Howard's departure.
Where are we with getting another member for the board?
We have candidates currently that are in the process of submitting their applications and cover letters to the township manager. So for anybody out there who is listening tonight, we have a vacancy in lieu of Commissioner Childs moving on to the commissioners. And what that requires is a cover letter, resume to our township manager, Bill White. Can be sent to his email address at wwhite@radnor.org. I know that some applications and information is being received, and then those will be reviewed by the commissioners with an interview during executive sessions before the next and upcoming board meetings.
Would the Board of Commissioners be open to having one of the board members from Parks and Rec be part of the interview process?
I would have to defer to the commissioners on that. I would have to chat with probably Jim and Maggie.
Okay. just at the request if one of us wanted to be part of that process.
I can talk to our township manager about that, and we'll see.
And
we can talk about that.
The steward list, I know that, is that on public documents who the stewards are for, if an individual wanted to know who was responsible for the park from the board, is that on the website?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we ever finalized it for last year.
I
I think we were
once
still
we-
assigning Jenna.
Once we get the new member, if we can get it more public, we want people to know who to contact for us to be the representatives. I think it would be helpful. So I can speak to the Willows really quickly. There was a lot of trees down in there, which is good. They were all kind of hazard trees, but left in place, it's really kind of the right thing to do in that environment. It's well done. I think the ones that were down were dangerous, so it looks good. So.
Great. Thanks for the
Is there
feedback.
Anything else from you tonight? Reports otherwise?
Bakir is going to make a presentation on update on programming.
Okay.
And then I'll just follow on the heels of him with one last event update.
Okay.
Good afternoon, board. We had a social media post from Christina Rios and part of us. We did a recap of all the events and programs we did for 2025. Me personally, I'm looking forward to doing a full calendar year of all of our programs and events. It's been a pleasure to learn from the processes that have been set from Tammy, from Natalie, from Tracy, just coming in and being able to see the programs and being able to learn it. It was really fun. So here is a recap of our 2025. And just to conclude the summary of our 2025, we can't thank everyone enough. The public, everyone coming to our events and participating in our programs, the engagement, and all that comes to it. It helps create better programs and events going forward. A quick update on a grant I had brought up to the board. We were approved for the National Recreation and Parks Association grant. It's a micro grant of $2,500 for live training. We're going to use this money for Radnor Day Camp and to basically just give them a better understanding of how we expect them to behave and conduct themselves during Radnor Day Camp. And then also, along with the live training being covered for, we're going to get $2,500 in basically ways we can incentivize staff to further elevate themselves. So we're very excited for that. Just an update on programming. We have upcoming our multi-sport tots. It's actually starting this Sunday along with Champions Fithletics. The program vendor that runs that for us is Skyhawks Delaware Valley. Skyhawks held their annual 2025 conference, and Skyhawks Delaware Valley, our contact, James Schlechter, was named Rookie of the Year. We're very proud to continue working with them, and we're excited to also announce that we will be having more offerings of Champions Fithletics for the remaining of the year as we were able to get more space. And again, here is the flyer for Champions Athletics starting this Sunday. Furthermore, we have Universal Rackets starting this next Friday, indoor adult clinics. So just continuing on with Universal Rackets, an update on their social media. Tyler from Universal Rackets will be going to my dad's home country, Turkey, and he actually will be doing a social media promotion there. His last social media promotion was with a UFC fighter, so we're very excited to continue to partner with them. I can't say too much on the social media promotion, but just stay tuned for that. PA Hoops Academy starts this Sunday. This is a basketball program to introduce children to the fundamentals of basketball. Hiking Hounds, we're proud to again announce that they will be back with us for their treats on the trail. We have one upcoming January 24th, the hot chocolate hike, where they go through the willows, and at the end, they actually make hot chocolate. January 25th, Pamela Rende is going to have her tennis lessons at the Radnor Racket Club. And our men's winter pickup basketball is still continuing. That is the conclusion for programming for now. Is there any questions from the board?
I have a quick question. Is there going to be a Champions basketball this winter?
Absolutely. We have a dedicated time for, I believe it's mid-March or beginning of April. I have a meeting with the Radnor Committee for Special Education on that. We're just trying to finalize the details on who will be coaching that. But absolutely, that's happening along with Champions Bowling as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe we have time for update from Howard, Board of Commissioners. No updates tonight?
Ian, if you could just put the slide back up. I just want to give an update on the inaugural Light Up Wayne event that we had on December 20th, which had actually been interrupted by the snow, the unexpected snow and freezing cold that we had the week prior. So I just want to highlight this event. Actually, there was a different slide that I had. Hold on.
Had a good turnout. There was a rain delay, right, for the weather delay for the first event?
So it was supposed to be a week prior, and we had significant snow. It was where we were expecting 1 to 3 inches, then 4 to 6, and it ended up being like 6 to 8 inches. I'm not sure what happened to the slide. I had a different slide in here, but that's okay. There were some better pictures that were taken. I'm not sure what happened to it, but just to give a little bit of an update on the event, we had close to 500 people at the event. It was our inaugural event. Want to just really say how proud we were to be, part of this as, Radnor Township connecting members of our Jewish community and bringing them together. So many people, not only the weeks leading up to the event, but at the event, were so thankful and so thoughtful for us for preparing this event, planning this event. We had several businesses within Radnor Township, such as Elegance Cafe, Sugary, Mad Anthony Wayne, Compass Realty. So many people jumped on board to really want to be part of this and be part of this history, because this is the first time this has ever happened in Radnor Township. And it was really it was a great event. We had amazing music, amazing performances, a whole lot of great food. The Kibitz Room came out and they did mini latkes, they did matzo ball shooters, brisket sliders, just a whole lot of really great community interaction, and obviously capped it off with a 9-foot menorah lighting that we had right at the corner of Wayne, right near the Christmas tree. For anybody who drove in downtown Wayne, you probably saw it lit up. There's a picture there. And we want to thank the Jewish Federation of Philadelphia for contributing the menorah. We'll be looking forward to this becoming an annual tradition as we move on into future years, and looking forward to continuing to make it bigger and better each year. So I want to thank everybody who attended. And then I think we were talking about commissioners' updates. I think I covered a lot of those with regards to Valley Forge and the budget. And then lastly, I think was just the shade tree update. There was authorization given by the commissioners on Monday night for a grant to retrieve some money for riparian buffer plantings at the Willows. So that will be a grant that's underway. Frank Paris, who is on the Shade Tree Committee, Shade Tree Commission, will be working with our grant coordinator to prepare that and put that together. And then ultimately, if we receive that, we'll be working with our Public Works Director for implementation.
The e-bike policy is in effect? Or
I
is
think
there a
there's
date
a, if I'm not mistaken, there's a 30-day appeal window from when that was authorized. I have to chat with the chief of police about, generally there's a 30-day window for appeal before an ordinance goes into effect.
And the fines are established, or are they still being drafted, what the actual fines are?
It was in the copy that I gave
was
you
in the
last
copy.
month. Yeah, I think it was $25. It was negating the county process that typically would fall in this case, just given, the prospect that this could be young people.
And signage follows in the spring?
I, again, would have to defer to Chief of Police on that regard.
Because I know it would be part of this as we go forward. All right. Is there any other business for you, Tammy?
I don't have any other.
Is there any other business from the board? Move to adjourn tonight? Meeting's done. Thank you.
I know that the meeting's over. I just wanted to quickly let everyone know, because I felt like there might have been